Malaysia, a country that prides itself on being truly Asian. With a unique blend of cultures, some say is a gift of the seas. Not unlike my own German-Chinese origins. My journey across the seas is also a journey to discover roots. It starts in Langkawi off the northwest coast of Malaysia. From here, I enter the Straits of Malacca, one of the busiest trade passages in the world, to explore the islands of Penang and Pangkor. My final destination, Malacca, the mother of all ports in maritime history. I'm Denis Keller. Join me on my passage to Malaysia. Langkawi, an archipelago of islands in the Andaman Sea that spans the breadth of time. Its name conjuring the legendary Langkasuka, the earliest Malay kingdom in the seafaring region. Until 20 years ago, Langkawi was made up of quiet farming and coastal communities. But today, its humble fishing boats share these waters with luxury yachts, a favorite port of call among the international sailing set. For my initiation into the world of seafaring, I'm in the expert hands of local legend Azza Mansour, the first Malaysian and one of very few who have sailed solo around the world.
Is that good enough?
Yes. A bit more. Yeah, that's fine, I think. It's all sheltered now here because we are protected. We are surrounded by limestone hills and island, you know. See how beautiful that is?
It's magnificent.
Yeah. Since I was young, I used to come into Langkawi, just enjoying what we are enjoying now. After Langkawi, we have to cruise back to Kuala Perlis, the port of where Perlis is. And sometimes we have to do it in the dark. So sometimes I wonder, you know, all these veteran fishermen, you know, how did they steer the boat, cannot see anything at the front or around, but after a couple of hours, we are back at home. They can know, they can smell, they can listen. When you're on a boat like this, all your 5 senses are working because you have to feel the wind on your face so that you know which way the direction of the wind is.
I'm getting there. I'm getting my 5 senses open.
Yes. Maintain direction, maintain depth, maintain speed. That's Pregnant Maiden Island.
You can see from the
head,
that's
the head,
the bosom,
and
her voluptuous stomach.
Yes. Legend says that married couples cannot have children,
yeah.
cannot conceive, so they come here, drink a little bit of that water from the lake, and some people say it works. So I don't know. I've never tried myself.
Interesting.
Yeah. So now we're taking the mainsail up, but you have to help us and work on the halyard.
This is so difficult. You said sailing was easy.
A bit more.
More?
Yeah, a bit more.
Yes, sir!
With my first sail ever, fully set and catching the breeze, I'm beginning to feel the lure of the sea. But a simple pleasure sail pales in comparison to a solo voyage around the world.
You started in Langkawi and you ended in Langkawi. How long did it take?
Voyage time was 190 days, but sailing time was 159 days. It's a lot of daily routine thing that you have to do to manage the boat. But I think the hardest part is, of course, managing yourself.
What made you want to sail around the world solo?
Well, don't be mistaken, you know, shore life is something that I look forward to. You know, I have families, I have friends, and, you know, I love the activities ashore too. But the sea is different, you know, it gives me a chance to actually look back to myself, you know, and most of us have forgotten that.
But it's not just the sea that beckons on this idyllic Isle of Legends.
Smooth, the Zen Budong Mountain.
Langkawi is over 500 million years old. It's blessed with great expanses of rainforests, cliffs, and outcrops that are part of the oldest rock formations in Malaysia. For this, Langkawi has been honored as the first UNESCO geopark in Southeast Asia. One of the best ways to get into the thick of the geopark is to sign up for a full day of adventure sports.
So Jürgen, tell me, how did this all start?
It started when my wife saw a documentary about children in Colombia going to school via a steel cable, 800 meters long, across a huge gorge. Yeah?
For Jürgen Zimmerer, Langkawi's rainforest provided the perfect place to set up his dream canopy trekking course.
A little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Okay, good.
There we go.
Get you on. And how was it?
Cake.
Piece of cake.
Yeah. Wow, that view is spectacular. It is just divine.
This rainforest is 120 to 150 million years old. It's one of the oldest in the world. It is a very rich in terms of biodiversity area. What you have in the whole continent of North America in terms of species, you have here in Langkawi.
Right here.
It's a continent here. Just copy me. Yeah? Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah! Ready?
Yes.
Run!
Pull down. Okay, turn around and pull in.
Holy schmoly. That was the ride of my life. I don't think I'll ever be doing that again.
Okay.
Okay.
You just relax,
Okay.
take a breath, and then we do the next step.
Yeehaw! Okay. Slowly and surely, here I come. I love big trees. Big trees are friends.
Now, dangle your legs that you just hang in the harness. Both legs, let go. Okay, here we are. And now, you lower yourself, your feet rope, and you enjoy the way down and the view. Dennis, isn't this the mother of all adventure?
It was the most amazing experience. Whew.
But the rainforest is only one part of Langkawi's geopark, and the adventure course is far from over.
Where we are here is the eastern side of the island. It's the most scenic and the most beautiful of the geopark. Yeah, you see all the limestone outcrops. We make our way out into the open sea, and there I have a small little adventure for you.
No. I have a feeling that this is not a small adventure anymore.
This is the largest and biggest dome, cave dome that we have in Langkawi.
Okay.
It's accessible only from the sea. We call this a sea cave.
Ready to go!
This huge cave where we were climbing up is a result of tidal activities, washed out. And once these caves are washed out, then you can see those outcrops. So Dennis, what do you think about this?
I wanted to curse you earlier on, but you know what? Once I got here, everything else doesn't matter.
That's it.
Doesn't matter. My million-dollar question to this here is, how do we get down?
See, down there,
Oh no.
that's the way back to the boat.
Outrageous! That was the scariest thing that I've ever done.
My adventure is over, but my journey has just begun. Next up, thrills of an entirely different kind, a drift back in time. Leaving the timeless splendor of Langkawi behind me, my journey continues through the northern entry point of the Straits of Malacca to the island of Penang. Once called the Pearl of the Orient, Penang looms large in Malaysia's maritime history. Established as a free trade port in the late 1700s by Captain Francis Light, Penang grew to become the first capital of the British Straits settlements. The winds of trade drew immigrants and merchants who have painted a colorful history for this island. For me, exploring the streets of Penang's capital, Georgetown, is like stepping back in time. And there's no greater symbol of Georgetown's magnificent past than the Eastern and Oriental Hotel, which remains one of its most famous landmarks. This grand hotel has harbored illustrious authors throughout the colonial era. It continues to inspire contemporary writers like Tan Tuan Eng, whose acclaimed novel The Gift of Rain attempts to recapture the romantic essence of the past.
I miss the rain, the tropical rain, so much that I could feel it, I could smell it, I just
So it's a
basically said,
memory.
please rain today.
Right.
And I think a lot of that longing came true in the book. And it infused the book with this romanticized and nostalgic look at Penang Island. And I wanted to record an instant of time that's quickly disappearing. And I wanted it to set it down before everything's gone and nobody knows what it was like a long time ago.
Today, the preservation of Georgetown's old buildings has become a cause central to many Penangites.
It's important to preserve what's left of the older architecture here on this island, because otherwise Penang would just be like another place in Asia. It wouldn't be unique. It would be just another place.
Wow, look at this courtyard.
I'm given a tour of Georgetown's great restoration showpiece featured in Tuan's novel by fellow conservationist Eric.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Eric.
Denise, nice to meet you.
The Blue Mansion is the former home of one of Penang's most famous historical figures, Chong Fat Si.
How much did they have to restore in terms of the building?
Everything.
Really?
In 1990, when the restoration began, restoration, heritage conservation was a concept. There were no examples. This was Penang's first landmark restoration project.
I wanted to include this mansion in the book because it exemplifies very well what I wanted to say.
It's preserving something that will possibly never happen again. It's preserving a time which can never be repeated.
Architecture is not the only passageway drawing you into Georgetown's rich heritage. Housed in the sanctuary of one of Penang's oldest churches, I discover the call of an instrument that takes history teacher and musician Leonard Salva back in time.
Bravo! This is like math. How do you coordinate everything here? There's so much going on.
These are called stops. What happens is they have individual sounds like this, just one sound. So I combine few of the sounds to get a proper organ tone. So you get like...
Now that is the voice of reason.
But what is her story? I mean, she is really old.
It's an English organ, actually. It arrived in 1916. Now, at World War II, the organ had a very close call. The Japanese were actually hunting for metals.
Right.
So you could see the pipes.
Oh, it's the pipes.
For bullets, actually. At night, the parishioners of this church hid some parts of the organ. So the Japanese came and they saw like, okay, there's nothing here. They just left. When I play the sound, I could hear, actually it's being played from those early years, actually. It's like a trapped sound here.
It's kind of like a time capsule. Beautiful. Ooh, lost my balance there.
That's all right.
I was really getting into that.
This evening, Leonard has invited me to experience more of how Penang's different cultures are working to preserve the sounds of their past. I'm meeting a group of singers from Penang's Indian Muslim community practicing to perform at an upcoming wedding. Its leader, Syed Sultan, has made it his mission to preserve religious songs in the Tamil language.
What is the historical background behind these songs?
These are all in praises of the Prophet. The lyrics will be telling them that you have to live the life of the Prophet, you see, how he lived, how he brought the religion into it. All these things are there, you see, but it is in the Tamil language, you see.
It's one of the last groups actually to carry on this practice.
So this has been brought over 150 years ago from India down here. As far as I know, in the whole of Penang or in Malaysia, this is the only persatuan or society which is still following this culture and songs, and we hope that it will continue forever. See.
The streets of Old Georgetown are a maze of hidden alleys and narrow lanes that breathe history. Different communities have been drawn here over centuries, each adding more layers to Penang's rich cultural canvas. The Kapitan Kaling Mosque, built in the 1800s, is the architectural jewel in the crown for the Indian Muslims, among Penang's earliest traders. I'm meeting jeweler Mir Habib of Habib Jewels, one of the most distinguished businesses of this area.
There used to be a lot of trade that was coming from Arab countries and also from India. And this used to be a main area where, everybody met in terms of trading.
Yeah.
And this street especially is known for jewelry business. This area was where my dad started the business. Those days he didn't have much capital, so he just started with some, small silver and a little bit of gold. He was also catering to a lot of people from overseas, especially during the Vietnam War and Korean War. Even the soldiers used to come and buy jewelries.
And when did you start in the business?
Well, I actually started when I was a kid. There was a time that I used to stay upstairs over my shop. Yes. And this area is where I play and I run around and go and help my dad. I like to see all this little shiny stuff in the shop,
I can't wait to see the jewels. Will you show me some?
Will do.
All right,
let's go.
Let's cross over here.
Yeah, watch out. There you go.
Ooh, rings! My favorite.
Diamond rings are most popular. This is what we call kapal terbang, or the airplane ring. We still do the same traditional design that we had for the last 50 years.
Look at that beauty. Whew.
One of the most important things that I always emphasize is how the diamond or the gemstone is cut. Because if you don't cut it well, you don't get that beautiful shine coming out of that diamond.
I hope you don't mind.
Not at all.
I have a thing for rings.
Okay.
Of course, without the strings. What do you think?
The call to prayer reminds me of the wedding Syed Sultan's group invited me to this evening. Reluctantly, I leave the jewels to shop for more basic items.
Is this something I should wear for a wedding?
This and then wonderful like this.
Look at that. You don't even have to wear jewelry with that.
Yeah.
It comes with jewelry.
Yeah.
On the other side of Georgetown, I make it just in time to join Syed Sultan's group escort the groom's entourage.
Please come down here.
Yes, please.
This is totally different from most weddings I've been to, but strangely, I don't feel out of place at all.
Dennis, nice to meet you. Everyone is looking so beautiful. Lots of sparkles. And they're going to celebrate on until night. I'm fascinated. And I'm going to go with them.
What a great way to end this introduction to a place painted so colorfully by the bounty of time and the sea. From Penang, my journey continues further down the straits towards Malacca. But there's one last stop off on the west coast of Peninsula Malaysia, Pangkor Island. Pangkor has a laid-back pace of life that belies the pivotal role this island played in Malaysia's history. The Pangkor Treaty of 1874 marked the beginning of British political influence in the Malay states that would last for 80 years. While the colonialists are long gone, today I'm exploring Pangkor with David Wilkinson, an Englishman whose family has been part of the local community here for 4 generations.
This is where most of the population live on the east coast, and this is mainly made up of 2 or 3 small fishing villages. I mean, there's been a strong population here for over 100 years. So I think but parts of this island on this side where the villages are pretty much unchanged in their way of life. A lot of the time they're only building with just basic tools. It's amazing. They're just using their eye, and you know that they've been doing it so long.
That's amazing. Much of the coastal life here revolves around Pangkor's most famous export, anchovies, or ikan bilis.
These are my favorite. They're so tasty. I want to put some chili on them. What about those there in the back?
Those are the sort of premium quality. These are the smaller fish. You can see they've dried out a lot more, and they're the more expensive. These are, I think they sell them about 40 ringgit a kilo. Ikan bilis is the backbone of the fishing industry here. I think they're recognised as the best in Malaysia, and there's Thai ikan bilis, but it's nowhere near as good as here. I think partly is how they prepare it. The fish are caught, and immediately they'll fire up the boilers, and the fish go straight in there. Once they've cooked, then they're put out onto these trays and then laid up on the top. Yeah, so from here they'll take them up to the top of the jetty there, and they spread them out on the nets, and there they'll spend the day drying.
Which part of the island are we on right now?
Well, this is just on the fringe of Pangkor village itself, which is the main town where the ferry comes in. And this is where the local village people bring in their catch. You can pick a fish now, which we can buy, and then you can go...
David's daughter Tessa continues the family's fondness for Pangkor's famous seafood.
Yeah.
Your fish?
Yeah.
You're going to teach me how to choose a good fish, right?
Yes. That one.
This one here.
Looks pretty bright-eyed.
This one is normally good for barbecuing.
You cut it in the middle, take out the bones normally, and then you stuff it with samba.
Chili.
Yeah.
Lots of chili.
Tucked away behind Pangkor's Forest Reserve, David's wife Rebecca adds the details to their homestay retreat, Tiger Rock.
The flora and fauna of Malaysia is my inspiration. I mean, David and I started a design company. That's what we were promoting. We were promoting Malaysia through its flora and fauna.
So all of this is your artwork here?
Yeah, this is my artwork. It's very colourful, so it's pretty happy stuff, I think, you know.
It just keeps getting better and better, Rebecca.
Well, often get the hornbills coming.
To create the perfect Paradise Island experience, the Wilkinsons have built their home around the natural landscape.
So how old is this house?
You know, you're looking 11 years on now, and it's still pretty sturdy.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
This is just...
It's a great adventure, this house. It makes noise. You hear everything outside. When it's raining, everything's amplified.
What's the story behind the rock?
Well, the rocks were here, and we didn't want to move them, and you can't even think about moving these guys. They're huge.
They're massive.
And that's why the house is on so many different levels, because once we cleared everything, we found these big rocks. So rather than think about trying to move them, we just built around them.
So, Rebecca, why did you leave KL?
Well, basically, we wanted to move to Pankor with our kids and give them the opportunity to have the kind of childhood that we had. We'd grown up on estates with old houses. There was always that amazing view of green, that open air breezes, and it took you back in time.
Right.
And this is what we wanted here.
Just next to Pankor is the smaller island of Pankor Laut. No journey through Malaysian waters is complete without a healthy dose of sheer tropical island indulgence.
We are in the middle of a 2-million-year-old rainforest, and so we wanted to build it according to the actual landscape.
Laurent Mitter has promised me Pankor Laut Resort's ultimate spa experience.
We are trying to keep and to represent all the healing traditions of the regions, and to reflect those traditions in our treatments, you know, with local herbs and spices. My grandfather arrived here probably 1920, 21, and he worked on an estate about 5 miles away.
In Aitawa.
In Aitawa.
Yeah.
And then he was a very keen fisherman, so he would come out to the island and built a little house on the other side of the island, and would go out fishing, and my grandmother would stay in the house. And in fact, her wedding present from him was a saddle and a 16-bore shotgun.
Oh, really?
So sometimes she was locked in the house at night, and pirates would come and knock on the door, and she'd be there with a shotgun waiting in case
Really?
they come in, because my father would be away.
That's amazing. And what do you like about Pankor Island?
I like it because I was born here.
You were born here?
Yes.
This is the 4th generation to be on Pankor in my family.
It's a very special island because it's, you know, the people are here, they've got a long history. They're not trying to be anything different. They're not sort of trying to make it a tourist destination.
Yeah.
They're just living their lives, and that is what's so nice about Pankor.
Wonderful.
The coming days will give me the chance to reconnect with my own roots in Malacca, my final destination. Of all Malaysia's historic cities, none has a story as rich and as captivating as Malacca's. Located at the narrowest part of the Malacca Straits, this port was once at the center of the world's trade, linking China to Europe. It set the template for all other trading outposts in this part of the world. Today, Malacca is enjoying its recent award as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The streets of Malacca's Old Quarter are lined with buildings hundreds of years old. Here, where the past is still very much on display, it's not surprising to find so many antique stores. But for me, it's hard to know the difference between what's treasure and what's junk. For some expert advice, I've come to meet maritime archaeologist Sten Sjöstrand.
Hey.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Denise.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Hey, great.
How old is this?
This one is 500 years old. Come from a ship. Yeah, yeah. Anybody would see it's genuine from the marine growth on it. This type of shell actually takes 250 years to grow to that size. But if we were to look at another form of a plate,
Where over here?
yeah, we can look at this one. Would you then buy this one? It doesn't have shells, but it could be a piece kept in the museum.
Mm-hmm.
Would you buy that piece in an antique?
I have no idea whether it's authentic.
I think it's too glossy, actually. A piece is 600 years old, right? People move it around, there's scratches, right? Fakers know that too. So they've seen a scratch it, okay? It makes you believe that it's genuine. But there's a natural scratch. There is a natural feel to it. But I can tell you, if it's 600 years old and it's glossy like it was made yesterday, it probably is made yesterday.
How do you know so much about all this?
I have located 10 different shipwrecks in South China Sea. It's undescribable, actually, to dive down something like the crystal clear water in one case. Just go down and find, you know, the whole pile of pottery down there. And when you take up all this pottery from these different shipwrecks, you get a fair idea after looking at thousands of pieces. This shipwreck here, for example, the Wanli shipwreck, is very interesting in Malacca because this ship sunk on the east coast of Malaysia because it was shot down by the Dutch. We wouldn't be looking at this piece here now if it wasn't for the Dutch trying to capture Malacca in the 1625.
For Sten, pieces of pottery open passages to Malacca's glorious past as a prized port contested by maritime superpowers.
Malacca Sultanate had a 90-year successful trade period. Spices coming from Moluccas, porcelain, silk, and whatever coming from China. And the Portuguese basically took that over.
Because they wanted the business.
They wanted actually to have a direct route to the spices in Malacca, which always came through Malacca.
Right.
But before them, it went to India and Egypt. And now because they have found a sea route around Africa, they could take the spices from Moluccas via Malacca and then directly back to Portugal. And thereby being in competition with Italians who imported it before through the Middle Eastern countries.
So they basically became the most powerful people then?
They were the most powerful people at that time, yes. And that's the reason why the Dutch came down here and wanted to take over that empire again at 1600.
Everyone wanted a piece of the pie.
Everybody wanted the spices, yes.
Yeah.
That's how it was, yeah.
500 years on, a small Portuguese community remains in Malacca, holding firmly to the faith brought by their ancestors.
Hi, Peter. How are you? Nice to meet you, Denise. How are you? Hello. Hi.
Hello.
Denise.
The community's leader, Peter Gomez, has invited me to take a look around the Portuguese settlement.
This is a really interesting area here.
Yes, actually we have about 1,200 of our people living in this area.
How have you kept the community so strong?
Now the religion is the binding factor of all. We have a statue that goes around from house to house. It stays in each house for 3 days, and then it goes to the next neighbor. That's how we pray as a family unit. We pray together with our neighbors, and they converse back again in their Papia Cristang.
Cristang, the language.
Yes. Papia Cristang is actually the old antique Portuguese. Now this is the 1511 Portuguese I'm talking about. It has very little grammar inside. It's simplified Portuguese. But the Portuguese of Portugal can understand us.
So if I were to say, hi, how are you? How would you say that in Cristang?
Kina Sambos.
Kina Sambos.
Kina Sambos. To me, most important is to preserve our culture. I'm trying to preserve it through the festivals that we have. Actually, the festivals is to recharge back our culture. Every year we do the same thing over and over again. It's in the dance, it's in the songs, it's in the prayer. So everything is there.
In the coming weeks, Malacca's Portuguese community are preparing for Intrudo, the festival that signals the Catholic period of Lent. Rehearsals get underway for traditional dances and songs that will kick off the celebrations.
is that called?
Vira, the Bible Portuguese. The dance of the people of the village, we call the Portuguese settlement.
Is it difficult to learn?
Yeah, no, it's not difficult to learn. It's a very simple dance.
Okay, I want to try.
Okay, let's try.
Will you teach me?
Sure.
All right, I'm ready. Let's stretch a little bit.
1, 2, 3, 4. You turn the other way around.
I'm here, I'm here.
Okay.
Pretend I'm here.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn, one round. 1, 2, 4, 3, 4. 1, 2, cross, 3, 4. 1, 2, cross, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 1. 1, 2, 3, 1. 1, 2, 3, 1.
Olé!
Today, Malacca continues to stand out as the most significant port of entry by the Chinese into Southeast Asia. The streets are abuzz as the city's Chinese community prepares to celebrate the Lunar New Year. This is the culmination of my personal passage across the seas. My Chinese roots are here, and I've come back to reconnect with them.
Uncle Jimmy! How you been, Uncle?
Growing older.
It's been so long.
I've got you some chendol.
Famous for its gula Malacca.
Yep.
Wow.
This is what it's all about. How's your sister?
An avid history buff, Uncle Jimmy Tay is the perfect person to help me explore Malacca's Chinese history.
It's so good.
And from here onwards, this is Temple Street. And before you reach the temple proper, these are all shops selling a lot of worshipping paraphernalia. But along this road, you have many places of worship for various religions, you know?
You're right about having a harmonious little street here.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of everything, you know? And then one of the oldest temples in the country is just down the road there. Clear Cloud Temple. This temple was built 300 years ago, and even until today, it is still the major place of worship for the Chinese. Now, on New Year's Eve, thousands of Chinese devotees will be here to welcome the New Year.
Fascinating. This is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
By far the biggest historical event in China's long connection with Malacca was the arrival of the great Admiral Zheng He, or Cheng Ho, who first brought his treasure fleet here in 1405.
That's where the fleet started from Nanjing, and then it moved its way down to Vietnam, and then eventually down to Malacca. Yeah. During his entire 7 journeys, Malacca was always a very important supply port.
Okay.
And they were huge. In fact, you can see the side of the treasure ship.
My.
That's the fleet. It was the shock and awe of the 15th century.
That is humongous. I mean, what do you do when you see a fleet like this? You just
give
surrender.
up. You don't fight. You could never fight a fleet like this.
The 600-year-old Chinese burial grounds of Bukit China bear testament to just how long the community has been an indelible part of Malacca. And from the very beginning, how they have integrated with local cultures.
600 years, you know?
Malacca is the birthplace of the Baba Nonya, a hybrid culture of Chinese and Malay, unique to the Strait settlements. Today, one of the most recognizable features of this fusion culture can be found in its special blend of culinary creations.
Hello. Hi, Nancy.
So,
your baju.
yeah, my baju, you see, so nice, huh?
Is this the traditional way?
Yeah, really traditional.
Wow. So what is this?
Croissant.
The croissant. So beautiful.
Yeah.
And you always have them in threes when you wear the kabaya.
Baju kebaya.
Baju
Kebaya with sarong kebaya.
Sarong.
Yeah.
And then
Nancy Chun is a household name in Malacca's Baba Nonya food scene. She's famous for running her kitchen with absolute precision, watching over every detail of her family recipes.
I want to learn how to cook.
Yeah?
Will I get scolded in the kitchen?
Yeah, last time Nyonya always scold, you know. If
Really?
you
Your
never
mom
do-
scold you?
Yeah, until you become smart. Yeah? All right. So you can pound for me?
Okay.
Pound this one first. Pound until you become very fine, yeah? Harder.
So where did you learn all of this?
From my great-grandmother.
And these recipes are passed down?
Oh, many years.
Many
It's
years.
almost 100 over years.
So you're saying these recipes are 100 years old?
Yeah, from my great-great-grandmother.
The chicken.
Chicken. Plunger.
So Nancy, what are the true characteristics of being Nyonya?
Fussy, very fussy. That is this way to cook.
And does it happen in the food as well?
Yeah, it's
Really?
the food also will be very fussy. Okay, careful, eh? How it tastes like?
Mmm. It's so delicious. Mmm. Yum. Sit down.
It's Chinese New Year's Eve. The streets of Malacca are ablaze with the advent of festivities that will carry on for the next 15 days. Tonight, at the oldest temple in the country, Malacca's Chinese community celebrate not just the beginning of a new year, but also their place in the heart of one of the world's great cultural crossroads. It's Chinese New Year. This morning, Nancy has asked me to help her deliver some food to an open house she's catering for.
This is a beautiful space.
But this is no ordinary house. This is the family home of one of modern Malaysia's founding fathers, Tan Cheng Lock. The open house is hosted by his granddaughter.
This is Tan Sok Chu.
Hi,
Nice
Sok
to
Chu.
meet you.
I'm Denise.
Nice to
Nice to meet
Welcome
you.
to this house.
Yeah. You have a breathtaking house. Would you take me on a tour?
Yes, certainly. I'll be very happy.
I didn't know how long it was.
Yes, this is the second courtyard of 3 courtyards. And this is the photograph, some of the more historic photographs in the house. That is a photograph of the Reed Commission, which actually met in this house. The Reed Commission was made of judges from the UK as well as the Commonwealth countries. And their role was to write the Malaysia's constitution. The fact that these events took place in this house and in Malacca underscore Malacca's role in the country's history. This hall is what I would describe as a spiritual heart of the house because it houses the ancestral tablets and portraits of the ancestors. That is Lee Chai Neo, the wife of the first ancestor who came to Malacca in 1771. What is unique is that it is of a woman.
Yes.
Because in China, the ancestral portraits that hang in the ancestral hall are of men. In Malacca, for some reason, all the houses that I've been to, they all have a woman.
Women's rights.
And they also say that all the women depicted in the portrait were local.
As Nancy's dishes are served and the open house gets underway, I haven't forgotten another New Year appointment that awaits further down the road. This is a special moment for me. I haven't seen my great aunt since I was 9 years old. Uncle Jimmy helps me reunite with the rest of the family, some of whom I'm meeting for the first time.
Sister Mona?
Your cousin.
No, auntie.
Very well, very well. Yeah, all good. Oh, it's okay. You come see us in Singapore. Come in Singapore.
Yeah.
Yeah?
好掛住你，都冇笑冇食，
冇相干，
冇相干，
冇相干。OK，
no OK， 我得。
少少啦，我識聽啊，唔識講。婆婆，婆婆。
Your granny.
You look so similar.
Same 啊。
Same.
似喎，同你之後。
好靚啊！
好靚啊！生到你咪夠靚咯，你媽都夠靚喎。
Auntie, yum cha, gong wei fa choy. May all your health be good, prosperous life, happy new year. Con nghe phát trời. Gọi thêm sâu mạnh hả? Coi sao, coi sao.
My journey through Malaysia's maritime passageway ends with a new beginning. It's given me the chance to discover new routes as well as old, taking me back through time to understand how such a unique blend of cultures truly is a gift of the seas.